The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
What if? Yes, what if the hockey gods are actually on our side and we replaced Gustav Forsling, with Erik Brannstrom, okay? We talked about this in the summer, and I think it's happening because I think the franchise, I think this dude's the real deal.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
People. We back doing this, and that's giving you an episode of Locked On Canucks. One love to you and you, and you and you, and you and you for joining us, okay, over here at the Burnaby Gardens. And shout out to the Don't Doze Art Collective for giving us the spaces, okay, to give you that neighborly love on the West Coast, the best coast of Canada. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, right? Change your life with FanDuel. What? The holidays are coming up. You can do something big again with FanDuel, right? Start off with a big return. New customers can do what? Place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win on that $5 bet, okay? Visit FanDuel.com to get started, okay? On today's episode, let's do it. Let's dream big. Let's repeat ourselves just a bit. Let's keep putting it out there in the universe, okay? The Vancouver Canucks, they lost Gustav Forsling, right? A potential Conn Smythe winner from last year's playoffs. And the Florida Panthers, we lost that guy years and years ago because we wanted who? What's that dude's name again? Exactly. Man, oh man, Jim Benning. Doing his thing. All that being said, Jim Benning did sign Tucker Pullman. And if you do the math, Tucker Pullman in a fourth for Erik Brannstrom. What? Unreal. Speaking of which, Erik Brannstrom. Could there be a possibility that this guy gets even better? Okay, a lot of pedigree in Erik Brannstrom, right? A first-round pick, a part of the Mark Stone trade. Played decent in Ottawa through a couple 100 games. It felt like that. We talked about the micro stats, right? We talked about how every single defenseman who played with Erik Brannstrom last year in Ottawa actually played some of their best hockey for that team. And we did so weeks and weeks ago on that episode of Locked On Canucks when we had Ross from Locked On Senators on. And he was also the dude that told us and informed us that this dude is actually way better defensively than he is offensively. And this same dude is the dude that just got humbled all summer long, right? The Senators didn't want to qualify him for what, a couple $1 million? And what happened? He had to wait a long time to get signed by Colorado. And then what happened in Colorado? This guy got ditched for a fourth-round pick. And Tucker Pullman. And what happened then? The Canucks, who didn't even want Brannstrom, supposedly, based on the energy that I was reading from Alvin, they waived him too. And then again, nobody else wanted him. And then next thing you know, because hockey is so strange, the Canucks needed him. A week into his AHL career, I feel as if he got called up, and he's never going back down. For the most part, he's been our third best defenseman. He's been really, really solid. I tried doing the math via the eye test and, digging through my memory bank. And I feel as if this guy's had like 4 to 5 bad periods of hockey so far this season. That's pretty impressive for a dude who, again, was the last addition to the back end. And I know, look at this, look at this comment from Garrett Ma, right? Oh my God, not the Forsling Brannstrom comparison. I know. Different players, right? Different player types. And also, Forsling's like 90 overall. Is he the best Swedish defenseman in hockey right now? I know. But all I'm saying is you never know. Here you have a guy that, again, has some pedigree and just got humbled. Maybe he needed to go through all these downs to realize that, this is his M&M moment, right? This is his Mom Spaghetti's moment. He's got to make the most of it. And I think that's happening because he's simplifying his game. Maybe he's not trying to be that 50 to 60 to 40 point guy. Right? Maybe he just tapping into his instincts. Maybe he's just tapping into playing a clean game, a simple game, and focusing on taking it one game at a time, not trying to make the biggest impression game in and game out, but again, taking it one period at a time and just leaning into his base level of skills to just deliver competent or more than competent play. And with that, when you start stringing together period after period after period after period on a winning team, something that Brannstrom's never been a part of, there's a good chance that confidence skyrockets. And when that happens, again, you can't tell me that the potential for this dude being even better than what we're seeing right now is not a possibility. Again, I'm pretty high on Erik Brannstrom right now, and the Gustav Forsling comparison is not something that doesn't make me look like a complete idiot. Again, confidence plays a toll here, and I think we could be getting a lot more from Erik Brannstrom. And UFA or RFA, he has no contract at the end of the year. I need to look at the numbers, but again, no contract at the end of the year. He's playing for a lot. They're going to squeeze the most out of him. He's going to squeeze the most out of himself. And I can't wait to see how this guy gets better. Okay, Trevor Beggs joining us right now. Day job Beggsy, right? He's got to put that bacon on the table for his parents. How you doing?
Oh, not bad, man. It's it always cuts me deep when I miss the start of the show. But I know the listeners here at Locked On Canucks are blessed by your sultry tones, and the listeners of Locked On Canucks are also blessed by Erik Brannstrom. I know this guy, you kind of alluded to it, right? God, playing for his hockey life, playing for his future in the NHL out there. Disrespected. No, not only did the Colorado Avalanche not want him, the Ottawa Senators didn't want him. And I know we had Ross on from Locked On Canucks, or from Locked On Senators, I should say, a couple weeks ago. But he alluded to it, that the reason Erik Brannstrom isn't still in Ottawa is the fact that his qualifying offer paid him about $2 million. And the Ottawa Senators didn't see him as a $2 million defenseman. The Colorado Avalanche didn't see him as a $975,000 defenseman after a couple bad preseason games. And here he is with the Vancouver Canucks. I don't want to hype this guy up too much, but he looks more than capable of holding down a bottom pairing role for the Vancouver Canucks. And might I add, you could say that he's built some chemistry with Vincent Desharnais. I want to say that he's actually bailing out Vincent Desharnais time and time again. So again, I think that's something he's not really getting credit for. It's not really a chemistry thing to me. It's the fact that this guy has come in and making Adam Foote look like a Jack Adams candidate once again. Even though can assistants win? Who knows? But Adam Foote should, based on what Erik Brannstrom has done so far.
No, that's a great point. And, I went on a spiel there before you got there, and I didn't even think about how he's been given probably the most difficult task on this decor, and that's playing with Vincent Desharnais, who's really chaotic and still getting used to things and is a healthy scratch, right? On most good teams, he's a healthy scratch, and there's Brannstrom doing his thing. And I don't really think it's a chemistry thing, albeit personality-wise, they seem to really enjoy each other, but I don't know if they're necessarily feeding off each other. I think it's Brannstrom's poisonous. Is that how you say it?
Poisonous? Moistness?
Poisonous? What? No, like he just poised. Like, you see this guy get the puck behind the net, and there's like this half second that he takes where there's no panic within his soul and his body and his hockey life, and he's able to just calm things down and make a play. Whereas before he got there, and I know we haven't seen a lot of Forbert, but you kind of get the same thing with Juleson and Desharnais. It's just an immediate ring it off the boards panic situation. And for Brannstrom to have this like coldness about him, again, his ability to just stay poised after going through, I would say, hockey hell over the last couple of months based on what's been happening in his career, being waived, being signed by Colorado, being let go right away for Oliver Killington or Chillington or whatever the guy's name is. Again, not being qualified by the Ottawa Senators. The Senators suck. And if you look at the data, I played some good hockey there. Why nobody wants me? And for him to come up and then, again, just be calm out there, it just shows a level of confidence that, you know what I'm saying? It's using the word special is something that I may get in trouble for. But I latched onto the notion that he's playing on a good team. He's playing confident now. He's playing for a Canadian market that's winning. Who knows if that type of energy taps into his soul, his spirit, and allows him to reach his potential. Level up. Confidence does a lot for people, man. I talked about this yesterday. We talked about it with Patterson, right? That's how he's going. Like he stacks up good games and he's smiling now. Look at me. Haven't been myself for the last 15 months. I'm trying to stack up some confidence, right? It's slowly happening. And this guy's doing it ASAP. Scored a goal yesterday, just playing well. Can he be a first-round pick again? I think there's a chance. Okay, sure. Oh, he's a good bottom pairing defenseman, and that's a good floor for him. But there's a small chance that he reaches his potential, and maybe he can leak over to a top 4 spot. Who knows?
Yeah, we alluded to it before, right? And kudos to us. Maybe we're grasping at straws a bit, but we made the point a couple weeks ago that Erik Brannstrom is 25 years old right now. Gustav Forsling had his breakout season at the age of 25 after being a career AHLer and being bounced around between the minors and finally getting some time in the NHL for a couple seasons before again breaking out at 25. So don't shut the door on Erik Brannstrom yet. I mean, there's a chance, whether it's in Vancouver or elsewhere, that this guy is more than just a bottom pairing defenseman. And again, look what the work he's done so far. Propping up Vinny D, Vincent Desharnais. I mean, I'm trying to pull up the numbers from Vincent Desharnais away from Erik Brannstrom because right now Vincent Desharnais is in the top 50 in terms of expected goals among NHL defensemen. Erik Brannstrom, by the way, 13th overall, shooting above over 60% in terms of expected goals. I mean, the Canucks are controlling possession with him on the ice. Granted, he's playing against weaker competition, but he's getting the job done. And you kind of see it last night, sacrificing the body, breaking up a little 2-on-1 in front of the net. Just those smart defensive plays, getting stuff done, really quick on his skates, quick on his feet as well. Again, just really impressive, everything from Erik Brannstrom so far. And again, this guy came into the NHL as, being, touted as the top 4 offensive defenseman, and he's found a way to be, much more effective than that. Again, in lesser minutes, but being more of a defensive guy, defense first. Okay. It's not all about the offense with Erik Brannstrom. So again, kudos to the guy for, carving out a niche here in the NHL. And again, looking really, really strong so far. And here, by the way, here, just for Vincent Desharnais, okay. Vincent Desharnais, Erik Brannstrom together, rocking a 67% expected goals for percentage when they're together on the ice. Brannstrom, his numbers still good without Desharnais, 57%. Desharnais without Erik Brannstrom, 33% expected goals. That's a pretty gas number. And I think it points to the fact that, again, Erik Brannstrom bailing out good old Vinny D. I mean, shouldn't be pooping on the guy. He almost scored last night. He did score. It got waved off. But again, the totality of work so far in Vancouver, not so good for Vinny D, but really strong for Erik Brannstrom.
Really, really strong. And now I'm getting ahead of it. Real talk. And maybe Trevor has more micro data, the fancy stats on the other side that he can spew over again, why we do see more in Erik Brannstrom, but I wonder if there's a world where, if the Canucks don't have money locked up in VD and I don't know, like that's $2 million, right? That they do have to account for. Like, I wonder if there's a world where that's not the case, and if Brannstrom plays another good 20 games, if they try to lock this guy up early. Straight up.
I mean, I'll get my 2 cents on that, and we'll cut to break, but I'm not convinced of that. I mean, I think Erik Brannstrom still has something to prove. It has just been 11 games so far, and he's rocked it in minutes against weak competition. But just, again, looking really, really strong. I mean, it's not all about the analytics, the eye test too.
But how about last year? How about last year with Ottawa? Like, how about
that's a good point.
The numbers that you brought up? Maybe we still have those numbers saved here on the dashboard here, but it just felt as if players who played with Brannstrom last year for Ottawa played better hockey when they were paired up with this guy. And maybe, maybe like the hockey world wasn't doing their due diligence watching the Ottawa Senators and their decor, because Ottawa Senators suck, and maybe they look at the box score only and they're like, oh, Erik Brannstrom, top 13 pick. The name Brannstrom, he's Swedish. Why isn't he putting up 40 to 50 points like 6 years, 7 years into his NHL career? Like, he's not doing it. He's failing. But if you looked at the data, like, it's maybe he's not that 50, 60 point guy. And that's okay. Maybe he's just sound and steady and not an idiot and can make a play, make a good first pass, can skate. Maybe he's been that guy for a while.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what we're talking about, I mean, a couple weeks ago we ran the numbers. Feel free to go check out that episode if you're horny for the franchise talk. But basically, every Ottawa Senators defenseman last season had better possession metrics with Brannstrom than without him. And it points to a guy that, for me, when it's every single defenseman on the team who's performing better with him, it's not a fluke. And you can see it in his game. I mean, he's quick on his skates. He makes good decisions with the puck. I mean, I know one of his worst decisions here was a fluke. It was a bounce off the stanchion that led to a goal against. But, in every game so far, he's been strong. relatively mistake-free, and he's getting some time on the PK as well. Still kind of a secondary PK defenseman, but I could see him moving up in that role too, especially on a team that's kind of playing Phil Pronik and Tyler Myers together on a pair with one of those guys on their offside. So opportunity of plenty for Brannstrom. He's knocked it out of the park so far. And, oh, yeah, not only did the Canucks get him for free, they got paid to take him on, okay? A throw-in the trade for Tucker Poolman. So shout out to Erik Brannstrom so far. So Brannstrom's stock is up. A couple other Canucks, they see their stock go up, and once Canucks sees their stock go down, let's get to that on the other side after showing it our friends over at Omaha Steaks and Select Quote. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code NHL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NHL and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at OMAHAsteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NHL. Minimum purchase may apply. All right. Well, if you're not getting a good old greasy heart attack from eating steaks and your health's feeling good, you got to go check out our friends over at Select Quote, okay? Because the world's top athletes, they get paid to play on top level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork, baby. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. You invest so much time to take care of yourself and to be the healthiest, best version of yourself. Select Quote's exclusive policies can reward that effort. If you are in good health, they work with carriers that could get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million. No medical exam required. You know what that means? No finger up the you-know-what. So head to SelectQuote.com, and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Get the right insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks, Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen over here at the Burnaby Gardens. One love to the Don't Doze Art Collective for doing their thing. If you're with us right now, hit the like button. Hey, hit the like button for Erik Brannstrom, okay? We're speaking very highly of this guy. Just keep in mind, though, we were doing this 2 games into the season, okay? Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen, 31 and a half years old. We've watched a lot of hockey, and it became quite clear right away that this guy's needed on this team, and why not live in a world where the Canucks hit grand slams? I know we're not used to that with reclamation projects, right? And maybe we have to get used to that considering it's a new regime and this regime's been around for like 700 days. But man, oh man, we lost Forsling years and years and years ago. We gave him up for nothing. We gave up on McCann. Why can't we have good things too? Straight up. And the data is telling us that Erik Brannstrom is actually a pretty good defenseman, and he's been so for hundreds and hundreds of games. Okay? That's all I'm saying. You shook your head there. How many games has he played prior to this season?
I want to say around 200, but I'll look it up quickly here. I mean, he had 70 plus in each of the last 2 seasons in Ottawa. He's now at 277 career games.
There you go, man. There you go. Erik Brannstrom, the real deal, man. And excited to see what happens with him moving forward. And again, we got him for free. You know what I'm saying? I want one of these things to work out for us, man. Straight up. The Grand Slam, believe it, man. The best things in life are free. Like friendship.
I'll be damned. Well,
straight up, man. Anyways, Beggsy, what else you want to talk about?
I want to talk about 2 players here. I mean, we've been pumping up Erik Brannstrom here, and I want to shuffle towards talk about 2 wingers, okay? Let's talk about Jonathan Lekkerimäki in his debut last night. We talked about it a bit on the post-game show. But the guy's numbers, I mean, were pretty unreal last night, okay? And again, Kyle, maybe you're going to call me a nerd with the fancy stats and whatever else, but I mean, I think the eye test was impressive last night with Jonathan Lekkerimäki, but in a lot of ways, he really dominated last night. So here are the numbers, okay? terms of Corsi for percentage for the Canucks last night, he was first. 70% shots for percentage, 81% expected goals percentage, and he had 3 high danger chances himself in terms of just kind of being around the net there. So again, didn't get a ton of shots on net necessarily, but the dude was around the puck last night, making things happen. And again, I think he just looked like a comfortable NHLer in his debut. And Kyle, I want to pivot to talking about Nils Höglander and what this potentially means for him. I mean,
oh man,
I want to talk about Lekkerimäki and Brock Besser. I mean, even Rick Tocchet said that Lekkerimäki does some Besser-like things. But again, I think, to tie to Brock Besser is, interesting because Brock Besser's been the longest tenured Canuck. Lekkerimäki's played 1 game for the organization. But I think Nils Höglander, he's young just like Lekkerimäki. He's fallen down the depth chart a bit. He's struggled a bit over his past few games, plays less than 10 minutes last night. What's going on with Nils Höglander right now? And does the fact that Lekkerimäki's getting PP1 time and Höglander's on the 4th line, what does that say about Nils Höglander's future in Vancouver?
I think that if he wants to stick around long term, like for the remainder of his next contract, he's got to get used to not taking it so personal when he gets bumped down the lineup, and use his skill set game in and game out to just be a 4th liner or to be a bottom 6 guy, to play kind of like Sherwood. You know what I'm saying? He has the stock for it. He has the build for it. He has the speed for it. He has the skill for it too. Sherwood's got some skill too. Like he's just a player with a different mindset, right? He's adapting. Whereas I think there's moments where Höglander may be frustrated with his deployment and he's trying to do the things that are done by a top 6 player when he's in the bottom 6. And I'm all for being yourself and tapping into your skills and, quote unquote, showing off, right? Do your thing. Höglander's a good player, but Tocchet has alluded to how he does enjoy sometimes bumping Höglander down because he gets back to the basics. And it's one thing to take notice of it when you get bumped down the lineup and change your game. Like, let's say he goes from the 2nd line to the 4th line in that first game he plays, he's playing like a 4th liner. He's playing like Sherwood, but he needs to do that game in and game out. Like, he can't take breaks from that type of role that's needed from him in the bottom 6. And if he can't play that role, he's going to play 9 minutes a game. He's going to get that Daniel Sprong treatment. And the sad part about that is, I think we're all looking at Höglander's a big piece for a D-man coming our way, right? Let's say we're making a trade. It's Höglander in a 2nd, Höglander in a 3rd, and we're going to find this top 4 defenseman or this whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the number, I don't know what the exact package is, but Höglander is the biggest piece of that if we don't want to give Willander and Lekkerimäki up. But man, if Höglander sucks, it's going to have to be Höglander in a 1st. And that's probably not going to be enough. Like, having a player that has 9 minutes per game and has maybe 2 goals this season, 1 goal this season. Like, I don't even know this guy's stats, like 5 points this year. Like, it's not a good look. So all in all, he has to get going. And I again, it just goes that's why I feel as if I'm not rushing to trade him, because I don't know what his value is at right now. And I just hope that he can do his best Sherwood impression in the bottom 6.
Yeah, and again, for the season, Nils Höglander has 2 goals, 5 points in 14 games. He has now gone 9 games without a goal and has 2 assists in those 9 games. So it's been a bit of a rough ride for Nils Höglander. He's not shooting the puck as much. Again, not getting the same opportunity. And I'm trying to think of where it went wrong. I mean, there was a couple of games ago where he had a couple of turnovers, looked mediocre, and I just feel like he hasn't been able to dig himself out of the hole since then. But we've seen what this team does with wingers who, again, get to their mid to late 20s who aren't defensively responsible, right? We talked about it yesterday. Andrei Kuzmenko, Daniel Sprong. I think what's on Nils Höglander's side is the offensive efficiency and the fact that he's young. But if he continues on a trajectory where, again, he's on his 3rd head coach. We talked about it before. It looked like he turned a corner last year. So I still tend to think this is just a cold stretch for him. And he's going to figure it out. I actually thought he was, tenacious in terms of getting it on the forecheck last night.
Yeah.
But
he was in the first period. He was in the first period. He was in the first period. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, keep it going the whole game, bro. And I think sometimes he gets in his head like, oh, I gotta make a play. I gotta try to make something happen. I gotta find space within the ice to be ready for the puck, where it's like, no, just be tenacious the whole time. Like, you're just as good as a skater as Kiefer Sherwood, you know? You're the same size as him. You're strong like him. You may not have that mindset though that like every single shift ends with a hit, but he's got to go there if he wants to be a Canuck. And you know, you brought it up. You brought up the whole Daniel Sprong thing. You brought up the whole Kuzmenko thing. Like it's pretty obvious that Alvin and Rutherford listen to Rick Tocchet.
Yeah,
they listen to him. And if Tocchet doesn't like you, you're probably getting out of here. But don't you think that kind of sucks too? Like, can we take Höglander's side just a bit? I don't want to flip flop too much, but I feel as if weeks ago we're like blaming Tocchet, and now we're blaming Höglander. Like, what do you think gives here?
I'm not exactly sure what gives. I almost wonder if it's another injury that gives him opportunity, or is he right back to where he was last season, where he's going to be in a bottom six role now and he's going to have to force his way up the lineup. And if I'm Nils Höglander, I'm thinking, man, I got to do this again. But that's part of the thing about playing on a good hockey team like the Vancouver Canucks. They're going to opt into the top six.
True.
Two sides to every equation, though. I mean, you see Jonathan Lekkerimäki come up here, play with JT Miller right away, whereas Nils Höglander's with Lekkerimäki's former line mates in the AHL, Aatu Räty and Archie Bains. So, you know, I really do see both sides of the equation here. But at the end of the day, I think it's the coaching staff's got to make the decisions that are best for the team. And Jonathan Lekkerimäki in a fourth line role is not best for the team. Nils Höglander has proven that he can do some damage and play well in a fourth line role. So it's easy to slot a guy like that there. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'll be able to touch on this quick before we get to break here. I don't think Nils Höglander's trade value has been overly diminished by the fact that he hasn't scored in 9 games. I mean, this is still a guy who started the season strong. He was one of our GOATs in the week early on in the season. 24 even strength goals last season. That means something. And he's cost controlled at not even 24 years old yet. Getting paid $3 million a season for the next 3 years after this one. So I still think Nils Höglander has a lot of value. I do want to touch on trade targets on D later this week. Maybe we'll get to a couple comments about it as well. But I think Nils Höglander in the first is probably the base of a package if you want to acquire a surefire top 4 guy.
Yeah, and it would be nice if that was the maximum package going out of Vancouver and not, you know, anything else, because I just get scared of this team doing too much too early in this window opening, right? And again, I think that he does need to play a lot better for that to be the max package going out. And I'll also touch on this too, like, dude, man, like if he plays like Sherwood like that, he can do it. He can do it. If he plays like Kiefer Sherwood, he's a POS too. Players do not like playing against Kiefer Sherwood, but they also don't like playing against Nils Höglander. We saw so many moments last year where he was public enemy number 1 from the other team. And I kind of want to see that all playoffs long. Like having both those guys in your bottom 6, or just even like line 2, line 3, or line 2, line 4. You have Sherwood and Höglander just stirring it up. I want to see that. So again, I think it just goes down to Höglander. And I could take a note of this too, right? For myself, trying to get out of this slump. It's like simplifying things. You know, you don't have to hit that home run every single shift, but you know, lay the body, make an impact, as Jeff Patterson likes to say, right? Do something. And right now, there's moments where Höglander is doing something like the first period yesterday, but then he's doing nothing afterwards, and that's just not good enough for a Tocchet-led team. And you know, look at this comment from Mother Nucker. Straight from Connecticut, Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, saying, look at the difference between Bruce and Tocchet, okay? Kuzmenko was Boudreau's boy, and Tocchet said, hell no, that is the leadership we need. Again, Tocchet is building a team where every single player has to be bought in. And, you know, you look at the Florida Panthers in the playoffs, in the long run, look at the Vegas from the year before, look at Colorado the year before that, look at Tampa. It's like all 12 of your guys need to be going. Not 11, not 10, all 12. So if you're not going, again, Tocchet's going to do something about it. And it's unfortunate because even at Höglander's floor, I feel like there's no excuse for him to be invisible.
No excuse. And there's no excuse for us not to get the break here. Get some comments on the other side. I see some comments about defenseman targets and some other good comments. Again, you're listening to Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day. We'll be back after shouting at our friends over at FanDuel. You know the deal, baby. If you're betting on sports, whether NFL, NHL, whatever it is, make sure you get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and NHL all in one place. Soon you get a hunch in the middle of the game. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets, okay? You can also bet on futures, baby, and I wanted to pull this up yesterday. I got in front of me now. If you're believing that Jonathan Lecker-Mackey is going to shock the hockey world and potentially win the Calder Trophy, because, hey, even the front runners right now, Matvey Michkov, Logan Stankoven, they got about 12, 13 points on the season. Macklin Celebrate's been injured. There's a pathway here. Not saying it's probable, but it's possible for Jonathan Lecker-Mackey to win the Calder. If you're believing that, the odds on FanDuel plus 20,000 for Jonathan Lecker-Mackey to win the Calder. Bet $1, win $2,000 if Jonathan Lecker-Mackey wins the Calder. So if you're believing in that, make sure you go place that bet on FanDuel. Reminder, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's on FanDuel.com to join today.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. That right there is Trevor Beggs. Beggsy telling us that you could bet $1 on FanDuel. You got to use a VPN if you're watching this from Vancouver. You can use that. You can bet $1 on FanDuel and win $2,000. Is that that's crazy? So if I bet $5, I could win $10,000, which means I can go to Turkey this summer and get a hair transplant. That's kind of crazy, man. That's kind of I could probably buy 1,000 pills from Hims too, man. Straight up, I'll be ready for a couple years, man. Rock solid, bank account green, hair just blowing in the wind. Like that's the life I'm trying to live, man, for real.
Yeah, all you need is Jonathan Lecker-Mackey to win the Calder at plus 20,000 odds, man. There you go. All right, let's get to some of the comments here on Locked On Canucks before we get out of here. And I'm going to give Jigger Tronic the floor here because he just threw out a bunch of trade targets for the Canucks on defense. So, Kyle, let's rip into them.
Okay.
He starts off with, we need another Brock on this team. Brock Faber. Also talks about thoughts on Scott Mayfield, huge right shot defenseman. Jeff Petrie, with retained salary by Detroit, looks promising. And finally, Adam Larson, how much to acquire him? Kyle, I'm going to give you the floor. Which one do you want to touch on there?
Well, there's no chance Brock Faber's coming in. Like, there's no way. Like, he's just you wanna have two Brocks on the team, then you might have to cheer for Minnesota next year. Okay, do the math. No, straight up. No, straight up, man.
Yeah, the cap space is opening up.
No, and honestly, like Minnesota's the cap space is opening up. Bill Guerin seems like a cool guy. I think I read a chapter on Bill Guerin in this in that franchise book. I don't know if it was a whole chapter on him, but he seems like a cool guy. Minnesota, like realistically speaking, over the last decade, they've won so much more hockey games than the Vancouver Canucks. They've been pretty much like a perennial playoff team, and now they're playing well. Kaprizov's one of the best players in the league, and Brock Besser doesn't have a contract. And Rick Tocchet just compared Jonathan Lecker-Mackey to Brock Besser. Brock Besser might be going to Minnesota at the end of the year. So if you want to cheer for Team Brock ×2, cheer for Minnesota, possibly. Seattle sucks, eh? Seattle sucks. I think, Trevor, if you want to, I don't know if you can take some time away from your family in January, but I think the Canucks are playing Seattle in January, or is it like December 30th? Just like towards that time, they're playing in Seattle, and I really actually want to go because I just love the way that arena looks, and I want to go inside. And yeah, Seattle sucks. I wonder if there are candidates there to poach from them. Our forward group is looking solid, but you never know. Maybe there's something there, but look at a guy like Larson or Borgen, right? That dude, and they could definitely be a trade partner.
Yeah, and I mean, the interesting thing with Adam Larson is he just signed an extension that doesn't even kick in until next season, paying him $5.25 million a season. So
not happening.
I think, Adam Larson, I think there's some intrigue there. And we're going to get to more trade targets on defense later this week because we're up against it for time here, and I've got the list going. But Adam Larson extension of $5.25 million per season kicks in next year for the next 4 years after that. That deal starts at his age 32 season. He has a full no trade clause. So you look at Seattle and it's like, hey, moving 2 hours up the highway isn't a big move, but for a guy who just signed an extension, I wonder how likely that actually is. But there are some intriguing targets on the Seattle Kraken for sure, including Will Borgen and Jamie Alexiak as well. For Scott Mayfield and Jeff Petrie, I'm out on both. I think they both suck. Numbers back it up. Unimpressed by the eye test. Scott Mayfield's got that massive contract. He's one of those guys that Bill Guerin or Lou Lamoriello signed 7-year deal. I think it was last offseason or the season prior. So I'm out on both those players. Not a fan.
And there was somebody that commented, Mike Matheson too. I don't know if Montreal's willing to give him up. 2 years at like $5 million left on his deal per. I don't even know if Pedersen wants Mike Matheson on the team. I still think that they got a little bit of beef, man. All in all, like, the market's not that heavy with big fish and whatnot. And I like the closer and closer we get to a trade actually happening, I wonder if Alvin and Rutherford just try hitting another grand slam with like a smaller trade based again on the market and just wait for Willander to show up. Like, can we talk about that within the next 2 weeks? Like, I know defensively, Willander hasn't been like perfect this year in Boston, but he's getting better and better. He has shown flashes of being a first round pick and being like somebody who, can supply similar replacement value to what Hudson left at Boston, right? Like, he's doing his thing. The highlights look sick. Like, Willander looks good. And I wonder if there's like a 10% chance that this management group is like, you know what? I don't want to give a first round pick, a third round pick in Höglander for this rental or this question mark, like, why not just wait till Willander and see if he has it this season? You never know. Real talk.
Yeah.
Like Willander or Vincent Darnay. No, real talk.
Yeah, I think there's look, I'll put it this way. I think with Tom Willander, much like Kermacki, I think there's potential there. I think he could even play in NHL games this season, but you got to pump the brakes. And look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is a Canucks team with a 3-year window to win the Stanley Cup. Is Willander going to come in and be a difference maker in year 1 and even year 2? Because I'm saying year 1 of this window is now. I'm not so sure about that. Maybe in year 3. So I'm not sure if Willander is going to come in and be a difference maker sooner rather than later, but it might impact what the Canucks do on the trade market in terms of guys who have turned moving forward. And I'll leave it at that for the trade targets for the rest of today's for another episode this week. I'll touch on one more comment here. We touched the Bowen Byram potential last week of him coming to Vancouver Canucks. Nerf Husky saying in the comments, Höglander trade for Byram ? I think both teams say no. I think Buffalo's got enough young, skilled wingers that's a position of strength for them. And in terms of Byram, I don't think the Canucks are super interested in acquiring him, and I don't think the Canucks are interested in trading Höglander for Byram. Tell me I'm wrong, Kyle.
10 points in 16 games, plus 7 playing for Buffalo. Patrick Allvin is taking that deal every day of the week, man. What are you talking about? What are you smoking, man? What are you smoking, Trevor? Again, I'm not smoking this month, and again, I'm not even eating pistachio nuts. Like, I'm not, like, I don't even want, dude. I'm not even eating chocolate bars with nuts inside the chocolate bars. Okay, and usually I love eating chocolate bars with nuts just squeezed into the middle of that thing. I just love putting those things in my mouth. But this month, I'm not doing that. I'm not eating no nuts. I'm not throwing down any nuts down my throat. And I feel like I'm seeing the world right. And you just told me that you wouldn't trade Höglander for Bowen Byram.
I'm not sure if the Canucks do it, to be honest. I think Buffalo definitely doesn't do it, but I'm not sure.
Buffalo doesn't do that. Buffalo doesn't do that. Not at all.
Oh, look, okay. This management team, you got to remember, this management team didn't want to trade Nils Höglander at the deadline last season in a bigger package. Like, I don't know if they would trade him straight up for Byron. I'm just saying that.
Look at this comment from Mother Knuckard. Okay, let's chat about Willander in the Discord. Again, Mother Knuckard's from America. He's a traveling scout. Supposedly, this guy plays hockey with everyone. Like, if you follow the Discord, I'm telling you, Mother Knuckard is the most interesting man in hockey not playing in the NHL. Okay, and he's telling me that Willander's actually playing like a number 3 or number 4 defenseman on Boston this season, and is good but not great. Okay, so you just broke my heart. So, anyways,
he's also tied for the team lead among defensemen in points. I'll put that out there too.
You know what? Mother Knuckard, I used to love you, man. Anyways, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Again, we do our thing every day. One love to the Locked On Podcast Network for giving us that culture, right? It's your Canucks every day. One love to the Don't Toes Art Collective and the Burnaby Gardens for giving us a space to give you this show. Again, hit all the links in the bio below. And Begsy, sign us out. Oh, yeah, the podcast reviews. Leave us a 5-star podcast review and make Christmas better for Trevor's kids.
There we go. Well, shout out to the everydayers, occasional listeners, first-time listeners, new subscribers, and those of you here who join us on the live show on YouTube, wherever you're listening, whenever you're listening. We appreciate the hell out of you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks. Trade targets on defense, specifically the right side. Who is the right choice among trade targets? We'll get to that tomorrow or Friday here on Locked On Canucks. If you're interested in that, again, stay tuned on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. But for now, we got to get out of here. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bowen. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks. Mother Nutter.
Wow, Mother Nut.